of us. I'm your host, Thomas Scaria. I'm a resilience coach, a ultra marathoner, and a firm believer in your next most powerful chapter. This podcast is a companion to my upcoming book, Resilience+Rise 26.2 Transformative Miles to Unleash Your Marathon of Life Mindset, coming hopefully by April 2025. Today, I'm thrilled to have Amanda Wakefield. I just got to know Amanda, and when I read her story, it is a testament of the power of human spirit, a journey through hardships, and the healing that leave you inspired and ready to embrace your own potential. She, like me, is a resilience life coach dedicated to helping others navigate life's storms and find the clarity among chaos. Amanda, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for that, Thomas. Thank you. Thank you for having me here today.
So, Amanda, tell us about your journey.
Oh, if I go back to the beginning, shall I? So
You can. So, as I mentioned, this is absolutely non scripted. It
yeah,
is what it's basically who have you become in this journey called life? I mean, it's still an ongoing process, but when I looked into the snippets of your hardships or the challenges, etc., it is quite, I don't say the word uh, intriguing or that way, but there is, I can understand there's a lot of energy that could help the listeners to glean from it and say that that could be a part of me. Because when I have guests in my podcast, they don't realize is it really happening to them or to somebody else. And when I get the direct message, I see that there are so many people having this more or less the same challenges, but they are scared to talk. So the spotlight, the platform is yours.
thank you, Thomas. So yeah, it started a little bit before I was 13. So when I was 13, my mum died from cancer, from breast cancer. And we're going back to the north of England in the 80s when cancer treatment was even more brutal than it is now. So she'd been ill for many years when she did die. And that was my first understanding of being alone in life. And it was terribly frightening and something that I didn't understand. I couldn't contextualize it. It was just an immense overtaking feeling of being alone. And then went into my teenage years, met a guy, not very long into meeting him. And unfortunately, my father was killed in a car accident when I was 17. So here I am with a guy that I don't really know very well, that I shouldn't have known very well, and no parents. And at the same time, I didn't know, because I was so young, how am I going to pay the bills? What bills do I have to pay? I've got no clue on anything. I had no clue how to buy shopping. Who's going to pay for shopping? I had no income. I was 17. So this was quite a challenging time of my life. So I started in a relationship with him. Shouldn't have done. It was physically abusive, etc. I moved from the north of England to the south of England to be with him. And this was not a very happy time of my life, although I did have 2 children with him. I eventually plucked up the courage to leave him, and I met another gentleman, and he was working here in Luxembourg, and I thought, you know what, this is my ticket out. And I didn't realize it at the time. I had a burning desire within me to be as far away from all of that hurt as I possibly could. And so when he said, come to Luxembourg, I was like, hell yeah, I'm out of here. And I didn't really think about what I was doing too much. I sold the family home, moved here, and very quickly I realized that I was in a narcissistic relationship and absolutely no way of getting out. But I made a conscious decision. I'm going to stick this out as much as I can. I cannot have another failed marriage. I'm I'm going to do whatever this takes to make this marriage work. And I'm going to bury every single need and desire I have within me so that I can make this work. And this is what I did for years. But eventually, we know the body keeps the score. And I got my first bout of cancer in 2006. And at this stage, I had 4 children, and my youngest was just 2. And it was then that when I got my cancer for the first time, that I realized I had some therapy with the Centre de Cancer here in Luxembourg, and they were helping me with mindfulness to calm the mind, and with that to help me heat my hands and my feet, because I was terribly cold from my cancer treatments and stress. And it was in those periods when I was sitting in this office with this lady, and my mind was so peaceful. And because she took me to a place of meditation, and I realized I had never in my known life had such peace. Never. From maybe not even as a child, because we're always so interested in doing so much more. We're interested in running around, finding something new and shiny to play with. So I'd actually never, ever in my whole life had this peace that this person was able to give me. And I also rapidly realized that if I stayed in this marriage, I was never going to have this peace. And this peace was beautiful. So I decided to file for a divorce again. And I did. And as I was filing for that divorce, my cancer came back, but I decided to continue. So I did. And I walked out of that marriage 5 days post-surgery and never looked back on that decision. In all of this time, I was working on my corporate career. Of course, leaving the UK, moving to Luxembourg, had to learn French, had to learn a different trade as well. In the UK, I was in the petrochemical pharmaceutical industry. Here, I had to go into finance, which I did. And I worked myself up quite well. I became a conducting officer, which is something that when you have to report to the financial regulator for the company that you work for. So that's where I went to. And as I approached my 50s, things changed, and I was made redundant once. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go and speak to a career coach, but somebody, not a career coach as in, this linear approach, somebody who looks at you as a person in a sort of way. It's not the ikigai approach, but a similar to an ikigai approach.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through this process, and I thought, oh gosh, don't want to be here anymore. So I pivoted my career, went and got my qualifications, and then started my coaching business. So that is a very quick synopsis of what's happened.
It is very quick, because I can see volumes of life written in these few minutes that you mentioned. As I mentioned in our conversation previously, is that there are times wherein life hands you certain things, and the moment we say life is happening to me, why me, and when we change the narration to for me, and what now at this point of time, as one of my close friends, she says she's a 4-time cancer. She doesn't say survivor, she says striver, because cancer has taught her on thriving on life itself, making the understood the value of life. And so I can see the same thing as that. It is so understandable that now why you are a person talking about resilience, because you have
Mm.
shown that, what, life cannot just put you down, you
No.
will always rise. So when you look into these elements about what life taught you and how you have battled these challenges, I don't call it as anything else but challenges, because every time somebody comes to teach you a lesson, good ones, not so good ones, and that's how you become currently who you are. You were struggling with your health, you were struggling with your relationship. You already by then had four girls. If you're allowed, I mean, I don't want to really open the wound, but I would like to know is that what was going on through your mind that you said that okay, let me break away from all this and reclaim a life that I did not know anything about.
Hmm. So my second ex-husband, it was when I was having my cancer, he called me a cancer diva. I said I was talking about it too much. And I thought, gosh, am I? I didn't know I was. I'm not going to do that anymore because, of course, I said I've made this decision to make this relationship work. So when he said, you're doing something, it's like, okay, I'm not going to talk about it. I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm not going to talk about it. So I made a conscious decision not to talk about it at all. And one day I needed help. And this is when I get frustrated with not with myself anymore, but how things creep in and we accept things that we should not accept. I asked him to look after the children because I had an appointment to go to for a doctor's appointment. Now, I should not have had to ask him to look after the children. They were his children as well as my children. They're our children. And he should have known that I had an appointment coming up. So I was like a bit disappointed in myself that he didn't know. I was disappointed in myself that I had to ask him. And then an argument ensued. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Why is it at an inconvenient time? And can't you do this, that, and the other? So there's always something. And I thought, I've not spoken about this in a month at all, told not to. And then again, I was told I was a cancer diva. And it was in this moment, I thought to myself, this is never going to change. I am never going to be able to do the right thing in his eyes. There's always going to be wrongs. I'm always going to be saying something wrong. It was the gaslighting that was going on. And it was in that split moment, it was actually a dominoes effect of thoughts in my head that went, never going to change. This is always going to happen. You're never going to win. And this is going to be for you for the rest of your life. No, you're not. Literally, ding, 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 ding. In that moment, that flashing moment. And I decided to file for divorce.
And how was it once that took place?
It
Because
took a long, long time.
the reality does hit, right? Because you still got four young ladies to take care of,
Yes.
and you still okay. You were working, so at least that way it was. But health is something which was scary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How did you? What were the steps that you took on to get or make your spine more stronger?
Mm. I I always knew that I deserved more. I always knew there was more out there, but I had no clue how to reach it. I had no clue how to make it tangible. I had no clue, I think in Giselle Palico words, how to decode it. But there was something there that told me there was something more and I deserved more. And I actually thought that if I worked hard enough on this relationship, it would arrive to me. But of course, this was telling me that it was never going to arrive to me. So yeah, I just got in contact with the lawyer and served him with papers. And I, when this conversation was going on and this dominoes effect was coming into my mind, very quickly, the love I had for him was extinguished very, very quickly.
Hmm. Okay, let's move a little further on. So now it comes to a point wherein you have started life on your own with the girls or with the ladies, and you have made redundant to a job that you felt was something to give you that strength to continue. Because when you are in this particular thing, if there's only one thing which holds you strong, and you are happy. Okay, that is still going on. When that was taken away from you, what did you feel?
There was a couple of, so my eldest daughter is 34, and she said to me when I was made redundant the first time, take some time off, mummy. I was like, no, I can't. I've got to continue working, because it was my whole identity. I had worked since I'd actually worked since I was 15,
Hmm.
albeit in, student jobs that don't really earn you any money. It's pocket money, really.
Hmm.
Um, but I'd been working for so long. I'd taken a break once to go to college, and this was my identity. And I could not, there was nothing, there was no ounce of anything in me except being to work. I'd even worked, parental leave. I worked part-time with children. And I did actually find another job very quickly and worked in that for 3 or 4 months. And I was made redundant again. So I was made redundant twice in 1 year. And it was in the second time I thought, I'm not doing this. And it was in that period of time when I had this career coach. And I thought, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't have the oomph to get up every single day to line somebody else's pockets to be told I'm doing the wrong thing
Hmm.
in the corporate world, as it were. And I didn't have that oomph in me anymore. And I thought, that's it. I'm going to pivot. I don't know how I'm going to pivot. I don't know what I'm going to do. There were some things with the career coach, etc. And I did a couple of things actually simultaneously. I also went to grief counselling for the first time in my life.
Okay.
And that was profound as well. It released a lot for me. So obviously both my parents died in the 80s, where grief counselling was not a thing. It was in the north of England. You just get on with it, just suck it up and get on with it. And what had happened over the years is I had never opened up to anybody about how I truly felt about being an orphan. Everybody knew I was an orphan, but I didn't tell the stories about my parents because I would get emotional. And then I was burdening other people with my emotions because they were like, oh, how do I fix this? But it's not fixable. It's not a fixable emotion. And people would go, oh, what can I do for you? Inverted brackets, to make you stop crying.
Hmm.
And that's not helping when you're grieving. You have to be able to go through the grief until you stop crying. Just go through the process. So taking on the grief counselling as well was most definitely a very good thing for my mental health.
Sometimes I am just in loss of words from what just transpired in the last few minutes. But Amanda, when you look through the last 4 decades, now that you've just seen in hindsight, these particular things have taken place for you to come to an
Mm-hmm.
area wherein you are you
Mm-hmm.
and you can take the ownership of that particular element. If I was to ask you, give me around 3 to 5 key learnings, whether it was about being orphan or losing your parents, getting into relationship that did not work out, handling or taking care of 4 beautiful ladies, getting redundant with work, and researching to find what life you want. So, if you were to say, if you were to write a book or something like that, and one of the synopsis of the book was 5 key learnings, what I have learned about life, what would those be?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Life will always be a bit of a shit show. It is. It's
Okay.
not. It is. Nobody escapes this life unscathed at all. You have the opportunity to dig deep and say, is this what I want my quote unquote legacy to be? Is this it? Is this all that there is? No, there is so much more. And I always knew there was more, but as I say, I didn't know how to get there. I knew, so when I felt this immense being alone, I felt the way to fix that was to have children, that would no longer let me feel alone. It just gave me a job to do. Yes, you're not alone, but it gives you a job to do. It keeps you very, very busy being a parent. And I felt that was enough in life, and it wasn't. There had to be more. So, and then I discovered friends and friendships and different things in life. I would say now that I've got this 4 decades under my belt is never stop being thirsty to learn, no matter what it is. And it's that thirst for learning, knowing that you can, if you love reading books, you can immerse yourself in books. If you love music, you can be expressive with your music or with your dancing or with your art, or going to galleries and looking at art, or whatever it is. There is something out there that you can enjoy in life that makes life just a little bit lighter than the humdrum of the everyday toil that we have to go through. And everybody has to go through that. Even people who are rich have to go through that. Nobody escapes this. So once we can find something within us that gives us some joy, we can extrapolate it a little bit more. And it's from there, from our values, brings in our boundaries, brings in our aspirations, and it all goes back down to our core. And this is something I strongly believe in, that we should be teaching this to children very early on, when they're going through, probably through puberty, when they're starting to get a bash of emotions. To teach them, that it's okay to have these emotions. It's absolutely fine and it's normal, but you will change. It is a moment in time and it will change, and it doesn't label you, and it doesn't always have to be that way. And that's the same. We have it through our whole lives. We evolve, except it doesn't happen at such a rushing pace as it does when we're a teenager. But we do evolve and we do change and we do have different emotions, and that's okay. But when we're young, people are very happy. Children label children as well. You are this and you are that. And they carry these labels with them throughout their adulthood. And it's quite often it's an incorrect label.
That's very, very powerful. Thank you for that. In fact, I remember about this gentleman who had come for the podcast, who was attempting to commit suicide. He said, it's not because of what people said. It's not about what I was feeling or something happened. It was because of the beliefs that was built in him from a very young age. Felt his life was not worth mattering about.
Yeah.
And I can see the same, that you could have had a way that, let me just walk away from life. I had enough of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you stood. So I respect and salute you for that.
Thank you.
So now we come to one of your favorite topics. So let's talk about the current space that you are in.
Mm-hmm.
What would you like to talk about that?
From the coaching's perspective. So I coach males and females. Sorry.
Okay. Sorry.
No?
Due apologies. So tell me, how's your life at this point of time?
Oh, my life. It is interesting. So becoming a entrepreneur, solopreneur is definitely interesting. My father was an entrepreneur. He had his own business as well. So I had a little bit of an insight of what it's like. And having discipline in your life is very needed. I think it's something that it has different forms for different people, and that's okay. But as long as you have some discipline in your life and you have some plan format of
Hmm.
what you want to achieve, then you can extrapolate it a little bit further. So now, yeah, I live in my house. I have only one daughter at home now. The youngest is at university. She's in her second year of her law degree.
Beautiful.
And
Congratulations.
thank you. So I have one here who's learning nursing here in Luxembourg. And my little cat, my 14-year-old companion, sitting next to me,
Okay.
as she does every day. So life is very different than it was, and I never thought I would be here. But that's okay, because if we only achieve what we set out to do and we don't grow and pivot, life isn't lived. Life is existing. And
Yes.
sometimes we do have to exist in life. When we're healing, we have to exist. It's too much, we've got so much to go on. And to heal, there has to be some calmness and some existing. But when we've healed, wow, go out and find out what makes you smile and bring some fun in your life, whatever it is. I'm going skydiving tomorrow, indoor skydiving. Never done it before.
Wonderful. It's such a beautiful sense of being. I've done it a couple of times. It
Uh-huh.
just changes your mindset about what life is all about. Because one thing is that the moment you're just getting, and then you think, what am I doing? Why am I doing? And all that thing comes in, and then you say, let go, surrender. And that's when you can really see life in a different way. And that's,
Yeah.
I believe, I've seen that wherein when we talk about surrendering, it just changes the entire mindset.
Mm-hmm.
There was a beautiful word you used, healing.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I could just focus on that template from your coaching point of view,
Mm-hmm.
because I had a quick look onto your coaching, the website, etc. And guys, I will be putting out Amanda's links on the comments below. So please do have a look onto it. Do connect with her, and if you have reached until here, you would have heard a lot about the struggles. So feel free to reach out. And as I've known and seen another beautiful human. So let's talk about healing in your coaching sphere. What do you do?
Mm. So many people come to me with different blocks, should we say, different blocking points. Um, it can come from a variety of places, or it arrives in a variety of places, should we say. And people are feeling either blocked in life, unfulfilled in life, overwhelmed in life. And they're looking for some clarity, some headspace of
Hmm.
calmness, exactly the same as I was going through back it was in 2007 when I sought the help from the cancer people. And healing is a place where we accept that something has happened to us that we don't like, that we didn't like, whatever it was. And until we heal, we are always going to be reacting to that pain. And when we react, we're never acting from a place of authenticity. We're acting from the place of lack, from the place of, you hurt me, so I am going to hurt X, Y, and Z. So when we go through this healing place, and what happens in our lives, no, we don't deserve for it to happen. I didn't deserve to be an orphan, but it happened. And yes, you have to get on with it, but there is a healing process to take on board with that. When I had cancer, I didn't deserve to get cancer. I had kids, but we can heal from it. And the narcissistic and the violent relationships, I didn't deserve them. But because I was never healed, I was always acting from a place of reaction and not a place of responding. So I was never, when somebody spoke to me, I wasn't taking it on board, analysing it. Does it feel good? Which is extremely important. What is your gut reaction? And I was then reacting very quickly, which was probably, in most cases, was a place in my head that was, from a teenage perspective, that was still very raw, unhealed. So now I can take clients through the healing process. And as you know, coaching is not, it's not therapy. It's not to regurgitate and rehack old wounds. It's to acknowledge it and put it to bed and move forward. Where do we want to go to? And why do we want to go there? What feelings are you looking for? Etc. So but that is the power of healing without regurgitating.
Beautiful. So, one of the final questions which comes up is that what, how do you tell a person to heal who may not have access to coaching or things like that, but they are in that own dark space?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What would be a step or two that they can just have a better core grounding within themselves to take the
Mm-hmm.
next step?
Yeah. I do ask all my clients to do a values test, which you can do free online, and understand, be very honest with it when it asks you the questions. Don't say, I want to be this type of person. Say, I am this type of person. It's very important. And once you know your values, you can then start to analyze all of the relationships around you, whether that's your emotional relationships, whether that's your work relationships, whatever type of relationship. And if it doesn't align with one of your values, it's going to cause you pain. Don't go down a route that causes you pain, because it's going to either be financially expensive to you, emotionally expensive to you, or health-wise expensive to you. So once you know your values, be honest and look at all your relationships around you and say, that's why it doesn't work. Because, I mean, I have 5 or 6 top ones that I live by, and I know, and my partner does as well. And so when we have a certain type of conversation, we're both coming from a place that we're never going to have to discuss because our values are the same.
Beautiful.
And
Yes.
therefore, it's easier.
That actually gets to a point wherein at times people, they are okay being hurt or being in pain because that's what they have known. That's has become their comfort zone, and did
Yes.
not know anything else. But it's always a choice, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I can understand that. I was in a place of thinking that I deserved to stay in this relationship, that I couldn't let it fail. But
Hmm.
I didn't have at that moment, I didn't have the clarity of mind to say, I actually can change this again.
Fantastic. Anyway, Amanda, this was a beautiful journey, and I know it's going to be helping a lot of people. Thank you so very, very much for your time and presence. And guys, at least my comment would be is that this story was so beautifully remarkable. From whether we are talking about from orphanhood to domestic abuse to battling cancer, raising 4 daughters, she has faced challenges that would bring most of the people on their knees. But she did not just survive, she thrived. She ignited her passion for helping others to find the same resilience within themselves. And she has guided people through their own personal storms, helping them to find clarity, as she just mentioned, and build a life of resilience. Thank you so very, very much. And as I believe in resilience plus rise, here what we just heard was a life happening that you believe in your own capacity to rise, no matter, as Amanda says, it's a shit show, but hey, let's overcome that. Thank you so very much
Absolutely.
again for your space
Thank you
and
for having, thank you for having me, Thomas. Thank you.